Hello, friends of Peach, everyone. Welcome to the Ed live stream. I'm glad to have the opportunity to share our views with you today. Today's topic focuses on the future outlook for the industry, considering the evolving US-China trade policies anticipated in 2025. In the context of an increasingly complex global economic environment, the changes in US-China trade policies and China's economic transformation bring us new challenges and opportunities. In this informative presentation, I will thoroughly discuss the significant impact of the evolving US-China trade policies, analyze various industry response strategies, and explore the outlook for the rapidly growing new energy vehicle market and the dining consumption sectors. Today's live stream will be divided into 3 parts. To begin with, we will conduct a thorough analysis of the recent changes in US-China trade policies, as well as examine the current state of China's foreign trade landscape. After that, we will share insights and perspectives on the growth outlook for the new energy vehicle industry, highlighting key trends and factors influencing this sector. We'll discuss the dining sector. Finally, there will be a Q&A session, and everyone is welcome to ask questions. Let's move on to the first part of today. Trump is expected to make a return to the White House this year, which will likely result in various significant policy changes across multiple areas. After Trump announced his unexpected victory, many concerned individuals expressed their worries due to his previously aggressive and strong stance against China and its policies. His anticipated return to the White House brings new uncertainties and challenges for China's exports, as well as its overall economic development landscape. Based on Trump's previous governance record and his campaign promises made during the election, it is likely that his policies towards China may continue to strengthen tariff barriers significantly and impose additional trade restrictions aimed at protecting American industries. In our discussion, we've summarized some key aspects of Trump's trade proposals directed at China during his campaign last year, and there are 3 important points that are particularly worth noting and considering in detail. First, there is the noticeable increase in the overall general baseline tariff that affects many consumers. During his campaign, Donald Trump made a bold promise to impose at least a 10% general baseline tariff on a wide range of most imported goods to protect American industries, especially on various Chinese goods, which could potentially face tariffs that may reach as high as 60% or even more. This situation could significantly increase the overall costs associated with Chinese exports to various markets. Higher prices could significantly weaken the overall competitiveness of Chinese goods in the international market, and may also lead to increasing prices for imported goods in the US, potentially causing inflation to rebound and affect consumer purchasing power across the country. Another point is the cancellation of China's most favored nation status. Trump's campaign team has additionally proposed the idea of canceling China's most favored nation trade status. But what exactly does this mean for international trade relations? The implications of this situation suggest that restrictions imposed on Chinese exports could become not only stricter, but also more widespread, potentially resulting in a significant reduction of available opportunities for Chinese goods within the competitive US market landscape. Another important point to consider is the gradual reduction of imports from China over time, which has significant economic implications. Trump has proposed significantly reducing imports from China within a 4-year time frame, a move that may necessitate US companies to strategically adjust their supply chains and decrease their reliance on Chinese goods and products to align with this policy shift. This situation could also lead to significant fluctuations in the foreign trade supply chain. If the United States decides to implement these specific policies, it will not only significantly impact China's economy, but could also create disruptions in the established international trade order that many countries rely on. These newly implemented tariff measures may compel some multinational companies to actively seek out alternative supply channels and identify other, potentially lower-cost production bases in different regions around the world. Of course, if tariffs result in higher product prices, this will inevitably weaken American consumers' purchasing demand, which could subsequently and indirectly hinder the overall global economic recovery we are all striving for. Trump's administration will undoubtedly create new and significant challenges for China's exports and overall economic development in the global market. Certainly, here is an expanded version of the original text. Of course, China now boasts a highly diversified export market layout that encompasses various regions and industries, along with continuous industrial upgrades aimed at improving efficiency and innovation. Additionally, the government is providing strategic support for the expansion of domestic demand, which can collectively help mitigate some of the negative impacts arising from these trade policies and external economic pressures. Objective: attain sustainable economic growth. Now let's take a closer look at the current foreign trade situation and dynamics in China. The upper right chart shows the total value of China's imports and exports. From this chart, we can see that in 2023, the annualized growth of China's trade in imports and exports has declined to a certain extent, roughly at this position, indicating the situation in 2023. Compared to 2022, there has been a noticeable decline. Looking at the specific numbers, in 2023, the total value of China's imports and exports is close to 6 trillion USD. In the year 2022, the total number stood at approximately 62,000, indicating a slight decline compared to previous figures. Among these goods, the total export value is approximately 3.3 trillion USD. In 2022, it was slightly higher at 3.5 trillion USD. In 2023, a trade surplus of 800 billion USD was also achieved, showing a slight decline compared to 2022. Now let's take a closer look at the data as it stands at the end of the year 2024. This also allows us to intuitively see that in the first half of 2024, there was still a certain growth compared to the first half of 2023. There has been a noticeable and significant rebound, showing a clear upward trend. When examining the share of import and export trade in relation to GDP, it becomes clear that China's import and export activities play a crucial role in driving economic growth, with exports proving to be particularly significant in contributing to this expansion. The next chart illustrates the proportion of China's imports and exports relative to its overall GDP. We can clearly observe that prior to the year 2008, the proportion of both imports and exports was increasing at a remarkably rapid pace. This indicates that the country's economic growth experienced a significant phase of high reliance on foreign trade activities. After the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis, China's economic growth model began to shift from excessive reliance on exports and investment to a more balanced growth model. Consequently, a comprehensive series of strategic measures were implemented to effectively encourage consumer spending, enhance social security benefits, and subsequently increase household income levels, all of which together stimulated overall demand in the economy. However, in recent years, particularly during the period characterized by slowing domestic demand coupled with the real estate bubble, China's trade surplus has still demonstrated consistent and steady growth, reflecting the nation's enduring strength in international trade despite domestic economic challenges. This has resulted in a modest recovery in the proportion of exports contributing to the overall GDP. This indicates that even with China's continuous economic transformation and shifts in strategy, the nation's dependence on exports has not entirely vanished. In fact, there has not been a consistent or significant decline in export reliance over time. In various sectors, such as the electronic information industry and the automotive industry, competitiveness has continually intensified, resulting in a substantial increase in export volumes over recent years. To some extent, this has effectively offset the negative impact of insufficient domestic demand and ongoing economic drag. Thus, we can clearly see that starting in the year 2020, the blue line indicates a gradual and slight recovery in exports, suggesting an upward trend in trade performance during that period. Examining the contribution of both import and export trade to the actual GDP growth, the resulting figures may provide a more intuitive understanding. Since the year 2017, the overall impact of China's import and export trade on the actual gross domestic product, GDP, has significantly and notably increased, highlighting the growing importance of trade in the nation's economy. In 2020, during the unprecedented pandemic, there was a significant and considerable impact on the global economy and international trade. At the same time, it has also faced some attacks, prompting some changes. During the significant period from 2019 to 2022, the global supply chain underwent various notable changes and transformations. Overseas production encountered specific limitations, resulting in a significant number of orders being shifted back to domestic sources. At the same time, the government took decisive action by implementing a range of economic stimulus policies, which ultimately led to a remarkable period of explosive growth that significantly contributed to an impressive increase in GDP growth. This proactive approach aimed to stabilize and revitalize the economy during challenging times. This significant increase also boosted both imports and exports, raising their overall contribution rate to actual GDP to a notably high level in recent years. After 2022, the Euro-American region entered a prolonged high interest rate environment, leading to noticeable economic slowdown and reduced consumer spending. External demand has also experienced noticeable weakening. China's trade in imports and exports, following several years of remarkable rapid growth, has also begun to exhibit a noticeable slowdown, largely attributable to high base effects from previous years and various external environmental influences affecting global markets. As we saw in the data earlier, this has led to a negative contribution of imports and exports to actual GDP growth. The contribution rate has turned negative. It has become negative. However, based on the analysis of previous data, we can clearly see that in the first half of 2024, export activities have demonstrated a significant and noticeable rebound. Both the total import and export value, as well as the export amounts, have shown a notable rebound when compared to the first half of the year 2023. In comparison to the significant contributions from capital formation and consumption, the import and export trade, particularly exports, still possesses a promising opportunity to serve as a cornerstone for economic growth in 2024 and 2025, potentially driving overall development and prosperity. Now let's take a look at this chart, which shows China's export value as a proportion of the global total. The blue line indicates mainland China, the yellow line signifies Hong Kong, and the red line denotes Taiwan. We can clearly see that China's export value has consistently accounted for over 13% of the global total since the years 2017 and 2018, reflecting its significant role in international trade. This indicates that China plays a crucial and significant role as a major exporter of various goods and services worldwide. Global demand for goods manufactured in China has been steadily rising in recent years, particularly in the rapidly evolving fields of electronic products, innovative devices, and popular consumer goods. In 2018, there were notable trade frictions between China and the United States, which prompted several Chinese companies to strategically adjust their export structures in response to the changing economic landscape. These adjustments were necessary to navigate the challenges posed by tariffs and trade barriers, ensuring that these companies could maintain their competitiveness in the global market. They actively sought out new markets and diverse export channels to effectively cope with the mounting pressures arising from these ongoing trade frictions. To effectively tackle these external challenges, China has strategically increased its exports to various countries, participating in the ambitious Belt and Road Initiative, thereby strengthening economic ties and fostering development. By strategically strengthening and enhancing trade ties with various other emerging market countries, they aim to effectively compensate for the significant export losses experienced as a direct result of ongoing tensions with the United States. However, if we look at the proportion, we see that after the trade frictions, China's share of global exports did not decline. In fact, it has significantly increased over the past few months, indicating a notable upward trend in the overall performance or data. In terms of international trade relationships, we can make a slight yet insightful comparison to better understand the dynamics involved. In the year 2023, it is evident that China's top 3 trading partners, which play a significant role in its international trade dynamics, have not undergone any changes compared to previous years. This stability highlights the consistent nature of these key economic relationships. The US remains China's largest trading partner, followed by Japan and South Korea. Russia's trade with China has grown significantly in recent years. By the year 2023, Russia has firmly established itself as one of the top 5 trading partners in the global market. In 2023, trade volume between China and Russia grew by 26% compared to the previous year. It reached an impressive total of $240.4 billion US, showcasing significant growth and economic impact. Exports from China to Russia experienced remarkable growth, achieving a substantial total of $100 billion US. This increase highlights the strengthening economic ties between the two nations and their growing trade partnership. The significant growth in trade between China and Russia can primarily be attributed to the deepening and strengthening of cooperation in key sectors, including energy, agriculture, and various electromechanical products. Energy resources and raw materials represent crucial sectors for Russian exports to China, particularly in the realm of energy cooperation, which is increasingly evolving into a more robust and close partnership. China is currently one of the world's largest energy importers, whereas Russia stands out as one of the largest energy exporters, creating a highly complementary relationship between their vast energy resources. Additionally, with changes in trade relations, we can see a significant increase in trade volume between Russia and China, indicating closer ties. Now let's take a closer look at the concentration of China's exports, although its primary trading partners have largely remained unchanged over time. The US, Japan, and South Korea remain key trade partners, though the concentration of exports has seen a slight decrease. The chart presented below clearly illustrates this point, providing a visual representation that enhances our understanding of the information discussed. The red line distinctly represents the United States, while the yellow line symbolizes Hong Kong, the green line illustrates Japan, and finally, the purple line represents me personally. Each line corresponds to different entities, helping to visualize the data effectively. The chart clearly illustrates that from 2017 to 2023, with the exception of the United States, China's export amounts to other significant major trading partners have mostly seen an increase. Exports to the US from the top 4 regions dropped 15%. Exports to Hong Kong remained basically flat. Exports to Japan experienced a notable increase of 5.85%, reflecting a positive trend in trade relations and demand for goods in the Japanese market. South Korea experienced a growth rate of 0.47, while Russia showed faster growth, particularly in a specific segment. The total export amount from various companies to Russia has significantly increased by an impressive 150% over the past year. China's recent export growth largely stems from emerging market countries. You're being unreasonable. What about 1983? ASEAN's trade volume had exceeded that of other major economies by then. We can observe the growth of China's export trade. Indeed, the structural dynamics within the system are undergoing significant changes and transformations. Emerging market countries are also becoming a new driving force for China's export growth. Now let's take a closer look at the overall structure and composition of China's diverse export goods and products. From the perspective of product structure, electromechanical equipment, along with labor-intensive goods, represent the primary core of China's exports, collectively accounting for more than half of the total export volume. This highlights their significant role in the economy. China exhibits strong competitiveness in automobile exports, photovoltaic components, and e-commerce platform expansion. These products collectively drive the growth of China's export share. This chart shows data from 2023. The largest portion of the total is still generated from electromechanical equipment, while labor-intensive goods follow closely behind in significance. This primarily encompasses various textiles, diverse clothing items, and stylish footwear options. Toys, furniture, and various other household items are also included. In addition, various minerals, a wide range of chemical products, diverse plastics, and numerous industrial goods have experienced significant and rapid growth in recent years. Notably, the production and sales of vehicles currently stand at an impressive figure of 2.7 million units, reflecting a remarkable trend in the automotive sector. In contrast, the smaller category we are discussing here is food and beverages. By examining the significant changes in export amounts over time, This chart effectively organizes and displays the export values of various goods in a descending order, meticulously based on their respective share of total exports, providing a clear visual representation of their contributions. The blue line clearly represents a significantly large proportion of the total data observed. Products that are electromechanical and electrical in nature and function. Next in line are various types of machinery and their essential parts and components. Vehicles and certain retail stores also represent a significant green portion. These three distinct categories collectively account for a substantial portion of China's overall exports to various countries worldwide. The chart displayed below illustrates the significant changes in the proportion of export amounts over a specified period. In absolute terms, the share of electromechanical products in total national exports significantly exceeds 40%, highlighting their importance in the overall export economy. This is significantly higher than other categories. This particular item is also considered a traditional and strong export product within the country. However, in recent years, there has been a noticeable and concerning decline. How many are included? Some equipment has also experienced a slight decline in performance, particularly in the red section of the analysis. Specifically, the total export value of electrical machinery has seen a significant decrease, dropping from an impressive 940 billion in 2022 to a reduced amount of 890 billion in 2023. Additionally, exports of machinery and corresponding parts have also declined from $500 billion during the same period. It slightly decreased to $510 billion. In contrast to these robust and traditionally strong export products, the two categories of export goods are exhibiting a clear upward trend in their performance and demand. The first category consists of special trade goods and various unclassified items, which we can clearly identify in the dark blue section displayed below. This category primarily encompasses a diverse range of products sourced from cross-border e-commerce platforms. The growth is driven by the development of cross-border e-commerce. In this specific category, the year-on-year growth rate in 2023 impressively reached a notable percentage, and over the past 5 years, its growth rate has consistently remained robustly in double digits, reflecting strong and sustained demand throughout this period. Secondly, there are vehicles. Vehicles are depicted in the green area. Its growth has also been quite rapid, achieving a 28% year-on-year increase in 2023. That represents an impressive 3 consecutive years of achieving over double-digit growth in sales figures and overall business performance. When comparing these various goods, it is evident that there have been some notable changes in export levels. Traditional competitive products in the market are currently facing significant challenges and are consequently experiencing a gradual decline in their export performance. Emerging export sectors have demonstrated significant potential and have experienced some rapid growth in recent times, indicating promising opportunities ahead. When considering exports to the US, the challenge of finding suitable replacements for Chinese goods remains quite significant and complex. After Trump's unexpected election victory, numerous institutions set their expectations low regarding China's export growth potential. However, there's no need to be overly pessimistic. Let's take a look at this chart. This chart clearly illustrates the export value of various products from China to the US, categorized by specific product types. As previously mentioned, the United States continues to be China's primary trading partner. However, in terms of overall total trade volume, exports to the US are currently no longer exhibiting significant growth trends as previously observed. The trade surplus is essentially comparable to what it was back in 2018. Will the United States impose heavier tariffs on imports or face other forms of trade frictions in the future? The overall impact on Chinese exports is expected to be relatively limited. What about October 2024? From the latest trade data released, in October 2024, China's trade surplus with the United States reached an impressive $100 billion, significantly exceeding both the total trade surplus level recorded in 2018 and the surplus for the same period during the previous year. This indicates that Chinese goods continue to demonstrate strong competitiveness in the highly competitive US market. Upon examining the detailed product segmentation displayed in the table, it is evident that the initial round of trade friction has successfully cleared out a significant portion of the supply. The remaining goods, however, are notably challenging to replace due to their unique characteristics and limited availability in the market. If we break it down into simpler components, for example, the various types of electromechanical equipment used in industry, yes, there has been a very slight decline observed in the overall performance metrics. How are miscellaneous products growing? Well, the traditional advantageous products mentioned earlier are electromechanical and textiles. Yes, they are essentially quite stable overall. Regarding the previously mentioned fast-growing vehicles within the market, they have experienced significant growth, especially in trade sectors and the movement of unclassified goods across various channels. This house is really nice. In the various categories, some traditionally strong products have experienced a slight decline in sales or popularity, but the significant growth of other emerging products has effectively offset this decline, maintaining overall stability in the market landscape. From the perspective of the intricate product structure, China's exports to the US are increasingly diversifying, and the heavy reliance on traditional goods is not as pronounced as before, remaining relatively stable over time, reflecting a shift in trade dynamics and market trends. Overall, the total export amount has remained relatively stagnant, showing little to no significant decline throughout the observed period. This indicates that despite the implementation of numerous restrictive measures and trade policies, the US market has not yet discovered any more cost-effective imports that could rival the affordability and availability of Chinese goods. The market's overall ability to effectively replace Chinese goods is quite limited and challenging. From this broader perspective, the United States imposing tariffs on China may encounter a significant dilemma that complicates international trade relations. If the proposed tariff increase is not sufficiently high, Chinese goods may still maintain their price advantage in the marketplace, affecting competition. However, if the tariffs imposed by our government are significantly higher than those of competing countries, in a situation where the supply chain cannot be sufficiently fulfilled in a short time frame, American consumers may find themselves needing to purchase lower-cost alternative products to meet their immediate needs. In the long run, the process of restructuring the supply chain may not necessarily be economically beneficial. What if the necessary adjustments in the complex supply chain cannot effectively identify and secure suitable alternatives? The US economy's operational efficiency may suffer negative impacts. Now let's take a closer look at the ongoing production and development of new energy vehicles in the automotive industry and the state of the consumer market. The new energy vehicle market is actually experiencing rapid growth overall, highlighting a significant shift in consumer trends. According to data compiled and released by the International Energy Agency, IEA, in the year 2023, global electric vehicle sales surged to an impressive 13.8 million units, marking a significant year-on-year increase of 35%. 18% of worldwide vehicle sales are included. This recent data indicates that not only has the sales volume of newly manufactured vehicles experienced rapid and substantial growth, but their overall market share in the global automotive sector is also steadily and consistently increasing over time. Among these regions, China, Europe, and the United States are the key core areas that are significantly driving the rapid sales growth in various markets and industries. Their significant contribution accounts for approximately 90% of the total global electric vehicle sales occurring worldwide. In particular, the performance of the Chinese market is outstanding. In the past 2 to 3 years, sales have reached over 9 million units, with a relatively fast year-on-year growth. The current market penetration rate is approaching or even surpassing 30%, which positions it as the largest and most significant market in the world. Global sales account for more than 60% of total worldwide sales. What about other markets? The European market, although its growth has slowed down somewhat recently, however, its impressive sales have now reached a remarkable 3 million units, contributing to a significant market share of approximately 20%. The US market, in contrast, tends to be relatively more stable compared to other markets. Sales are around 1 million units. China's rapidly growing new energy vehicle industry has truly emerged as a vital driving force in the global new energy and automotive market landscape. Currently, China stands as the world's largest exporter of innovative new energy vehicles, leading the industry globally. In 2023, The export volume exceeded 1 million units, with a year-on-year growth of nearly 150%. As of October 2024, the sales of new energy vehicles in China have significantly exceeded the total sales recorded for the entire year of 2023, reaching an impressive figure of 1.08 million units, highlighting a remarkable growth trend in the automotive sector. China's new energy vehicles are primarily exported to key destinations including Europe, Southeast Asia, and Latin America. The impressive exports from Tesla's Shanghai factory, along with the strategic international expansion of well-known brands like BYD, have both played a significant role in driving this remarkable sales growth in the electric vehicle market. Additionally, the government provides substantial financial subsidies for certain key industries to promote growth and stability. So what does the data show? How exactly should we go about writing it now at this moment? It is anticipated that there will be a chance to exceed 50%. Let's take a closer look above. In the context of the sales of new energy vehicles, the blue color signifies global hybrid models that feature small displacement engines, indicating a trend, with China emerging as a significant player in this market segment. Next in line are the 27 diverse countries of Europe, each with its own unique culture and history. Overall, the substantial growth in sales is occurring very rapidly on a global scale. This is one of the main driving forces in Xiaolantown. The chart below illustrates the market share distribution of various insurance policies specifically for new energy vehicles in China. Above is the market share of new energy vehicles, specifically Huawei's. Here is the detailed overall market share information. We can clearly see that there is a promising opportunity to give it a try. Now let's take a look at the consumer market, specifically the dining consumption market. On December 12th of last year, did you enjoy yourself and have a good time throughout this past year? It has also clearly stated the need to expand service consumption. This particular aspect represents one of the key focus areas of the overarching policy framework, emphasizing its importance in guiding our strategic initiatives and decision-making processes moving forward. Frequent daily consumption. As for dining, being a basic need in daily life, the frequency of consumption is relatively high. In comparison to durable goods, which often require significant investment, the phenomenon of overspending may not be as clearly evident after a period of economic recovery, as consumers tend to be more cautious with their spending habits on non-essential items during this time. Policies in these specific areas can be designed to be more flexible, adaptive, and ultimately sustainable over the long term. Now let's take a look at the data. On the left side of the chart is China's total retail sales data, displayed year on year for better comparison. On the right is the revenue from China's dining industry. Total retail sales compared to the same month last year. According to the detailed economic operation data recently released by the National Bureau of Statistics of China, the total retail sales of consumer goods in the month of November impressively reached a substantial figure of 4.33 trillion RMB, reflecting consumer spending trends during that period. There is a 3% increase from last year. The growth rate has experienced a slight decrease of 1.8 percentage points in comparison to last month. Specifically, a growing number of local governments across various regions have issued targeted consumption vouchers to effectively stimulate and support the struggling dining industry during these challenging economic times. The revenue in the dining industry has consistently shown impressive year-on-year growth, reflecting changing consumer preferences. Overall, the government has implemented a series of measures. They are looking to stimulate dining consumption. However, this advanced consumption of goods and services has temporarily slowed down the overall growth of the retail market, impacting various sectors more than initially anticipated. In response to the noticeable slowdown in consumption growth across various sectors, The government has continuously implemented a range of strategic measures aimed at effectively stimulating domestic demand and boosting overall economic activity. Since the end of 2024, various regions across China have actively introduced a multitude of policies aimed at significantly boosting dining consumption. This effort has been particularly pronounced in the vital fourth quarter of the year. Major cities such as Shanghai and Guangzhou have been issuing enticing consumption vouchers that have successfully encouraged spending in local restaurants and cafes, leading to favorable outcomes and revitalizing the dining sector in these bustling urban areas. I strongly believe that in the future, these well-designed policies will continue to be effective. These comprehensive policies can significantly help promote a recovery in consumer spending, particularly in the dining and restaurant sector, which has been greatly affected. They will effectively alleviate the widespread phenomenon of low-price promotions that often disrupt the industry, thereby stabilizing the overall market conditions. The dining industry also has the opportunity to see a rebound in demand and a turning point in prices. Today, we briefly discussed the recent changes in China-US trade policies and their potential impact on the global economy, highlighting both the numerous opportunities that could arise and the significant challenges that may be faced. We examined how these shifts in policy might affect various sectors, including manufacturing and technology, while also considering the broader implications for international relations and economic stability. Overall, this conversation shed light on the complex dynamics at play in the current trade environment between these two major economic powers. I hope today's sharing has provided some insights, more ideas and reference directions. Next, we will proceed into the question and answer session, where we will explore in greater detail how the implementation of consumption vouchers can effectively stimulate and invigorate the market. This discussion will allow us to gather insights and perspectives on the potential impacts of these vouchers on consumer behavior and overall economic activity. We hope to address various questions and concerns related to this topic, providing clarity on how such initiatives can drive spending and support local businesses. Your participation in this session will be invaluable as we seek to understand the broader implications of consumption vouchers in our current economic landscape. Consumption vouchers can significantly enhance the overall market in several impactful ways. Firstly, they can significantly increase the purchasing power of local residents, allowing them to afford more goods and services. Increasing purchasing power signifies a rise in households' disposable income, allowing for enhanced spending capabilities. This initiative helps to significantly stimulate consumer demand for various products and services. This consumption voucher is specifically targeted. It is designed to effectively stimulate certain industries, such as providing vouchers that can be utilized in the restaurant sector to boost its economic activity, or activities specifically related to the burgeoning ice and snow economy, and various targeted vouchers can significantly improve demand in these areas. It appears that everyone has no additional questions at this time, so we will now conclude our sharing session here. Thank you all sincerely for participating.